So we all know that a balanced diet is important, right? But what does that actually mean? What do we look for in terms of dietary diversity? Well, it's often summed up by the phrase that we need to eat the rainbow. But what does that actually mean, and why is it important? Well, really, it's about eating a wide range of different coloured plant foods across all the meals that we have, and then looking at the balance across the whole week. So sounds easy, right? But actually, it's harder than you might think. And there's a number of things going on there. So firstly, economies of scale in both farming and food production mean that actually we have a real restriction in terms of the number of food crops that are now grown. Now, carrots, just a very small example. Now, you may or may not know that carrots actually come in a range of colours. So you can get purple, yellow, white and orange. But at some point, somebody, no idea who, decided that carrots should be orange. And so now if you want to get what they call heritage carrots, you actually have to go out of your way to try and find a broadly coloured range of that particular vegetable, and there'll be others like it. And in fact, estimates are now that about 75% of the world's food actually comes from just 12 plants and 5 animals, which is obviously a really narrow range compared to all the possible things that are available to us to eat. So as well as overcoming the food environment in which we find ourselves, we also have to do battle slightly with our sort of human nature, because as humans, we are creatures of habit. So we tend to go for the things that are familiar to us, that we don't have to really think about, that are very well known, and particularly when we're busy in other parts of our lives. So if we want to have real dietary diversity, we actually have to be very conscious of it. We have to be thinking about that aspect of our diet, and we actually have to take active steps to make sure that we are able to eat the rainbow. But why should we bother with dietary diversity? Why is it so important? Well, the first thing is all about our need for nutrients. If we go right back, our sort of hunter-gatherer ancestors needed about 4,000 calories a day to support their lifestyle and their level of activity. Now, we probably need about half that, depending on who we are and how active we are. But what we need to do is still get all of the same nutrients, because we still need them. So we need to pack a lot into a small amount so that we get everything we need, but without eating too much in terms of energy and calories. And we need all of that to face the challenges that we have every day. And the more challenges we face, the more nutrients we need. If you've got a very difficult high-level training regime, or you've got a very active family life, all of those things can just add to the challenge that your body faces every day, and the more nutrients it requires. And on top of that, we also need to be thinking about phytonutrients when we think about diversity. So these are chemicals that are produced by plants that have lots of health benefits. They act as antioxidants, and they also have anti-inflammatory actions in the body, which are very important for health. I'm going to go into that in a bit more detail with a different feature, which is all about phytonutrients. But basically, the diversity that we need comes from the whole range of different colours that we get in food, which makes sure we're covering all of the different phytonutrients that are important to health. And then the last thing we need to think about with diversity is thinking about supporting the health of our gut and our gut bacteria, which have a fundamental role to play in our physical and mental health. Again, there's a different feature that goes into all of that in a lot more detail, but the bottom line is that to support a diverse and balanced gut bacterial population, which is what we need to support our own health, we need a diversity of diet to be giving them a whole range of different plant foods to eat. So what can we do in practice to increase our level of dietary diversity? Well, the first thing is just to take small steps to move in the right direction until eating in a really diverse way is just part of the eating habits that you have. So the first thing we can do is just to be mindful of the amount of different colours that we're eating and the range of plant foods that we're taking in, and trying to think across the week if there are certain colours or types of plant food that we're low on. We do more towards the end of the week to try and get the balance right. The other thing we can do is just to experiment a bit more. We are creatures of habit, as I mentioned, and therefore we tend to stick to what we know. So if we were to get a bit more adventurous and maybe just pick one day a week to try something new, that would help us to extend our range and then build in perhaps more foods that we can eat regularly. The other thing that we can do is not just remember fresh fruit and veg when we're thinking about colour, but we can also look at frozen and tinned foods. They're also an easy way to add variety and vegetable content to meals. We could also think about adding in fresh herbs, particularly to the way that we cook, maybe even in ways that you wouldn't normally. So maybe just adding herbs to salad, a nice easy way to get some more diversity, or to other meals like scrambled egg, even into ice cubes so you can put them into drinks. And the same would apply to spices, which are another great way to add variety. So next up, we can think about replacing the sort of more beige or starchy carbohydrates in a meal with more colourful vegetables. So here you could think about replacing potatoes with sweet potatoes in either mash or in wedges. You can turn cauliflower into rice, you can turn vegetables into noodles. Anything which adds more colour and takes away the more beige element of a meal will help. Finally, we can also think about adding vegetables for breakfast. So maybe we routinely think about lunch and dinner, but we miss that third opportunity to add in more veg. So here, it might just be an omelette with a veggie filling, or we might think about using something like asparagus to dip into our boiled egg instead of soldiers. If you're interested in doing more in relation to dietary diversity, you can download the sheet. It's called the 30 Foods Challenge, and it just helps to track how you're getting on at the moment. So you can identify areas where perhaps there's room for improvement, and also you can see how you're getting on week as you attempt to make dietary diversity just part of your eating habits.